Sharks. I'm Dr. Adil Akhtar from San Diego, California. I'm here seeking $1 million for 2% equity in my company, PSYONIC, where we develop advanced bionic limbs that are accessible for both humans and robots. When I was 7 years old, I met someone missing a limb for the first time. She was my age, living in poverty in Pakistan where I was visiting, missing her right leg and using a tree branch as a crutch. That's what inspired me to go into this field, and that's why I developed the Ability Hand. It's the fastest bionic hand on the market. It's the first to provide touch feedback to users, and you can control it with your muscles like Sergeant Anderson over there. It's also water resistant and USB-C rechargeable. You can even charge your phone from your hand, a superhuman ability. The Ability Hand has made a huge difference in the lives of our users. For example, Sergeant Anderson can actually hold and feel his daughter's hand again, something he couldn't do with any other prosthetic before. But he can also take PSYONIC's Ability Hand to the extreme. So the Ability Hand isn't just for prosthetics. It's also being used on robots around the world, including at major tech companies and even on missions into space. So, Sharks, who wants to join our bionic revolution and change the world? One hand at a time.
Very cool. Very cool. Welcome back, super entrepreneurs, to another Shark Tank Biz review. I'm Joe Pardo. If you're new here, we review business. We review businesses through the eyes of Shark Tank, as well as other manners here. But today, this was it. PSYONIC. Oh no, what's the name? Oh, it's just called just PSYONIC, right? PSYONIC. Anyway, this is pretty cool. Now, I've seen things like this in the past. A friend of mine, Rebecca Marine, who is she was born with one arm, or one full arm, complete arm, is a model for a robotic arm, and has been doing all kinds of press releases and stuff going back, 2015 was like the last I had seen, which is, quite a while at this point. But the feedback thing, I think, is a really cool take on it that I had not heard of before, or knew that anybody was developing. So hopefully Adil has a whole bunch of patents to back up $50 million, arm, a complete limb here for somebody. But also, I know these arms aren't, I know they aren't comfortable. I know that was one of the things that Rebecca had talked about, that, in the past, a lot of them were very heavy. They get hot very easily. So I'm kind of curious as to how Adil has been able to use newer technology to be able to navigate some of those issues, as well as how much does this cost for an average person, and how much is insurance actually willing to cover, and how is he bringing those costs down so that people that, say, live in Pakistan or any non-first world making the most amount of money kind of people can afford their own replacement limbs. So it's this very interesting take that they brought this to Shark Tank, because anything over $350,000 to $300,000 usually doesn't get a shark, especially when we're talking about just 2% of $50 million valuation. So Adil, hopefully I thought I saw that you had raised some money off of your website, like there was like funding rounds or something like that, when I was just getting the pages set up here. And we'll check out his website and social media at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. But yeah, you're gonna have to definitely get more than one shark probably to get that, and 2% it's gonna be rough. So anyway, it's not rough. Sticking around to the end, and we're going to be featuring one of your comments from down below in the super community, as well as, again, checking out their website and social media. So stick around for all that.
I want to actually introduce you to Sergeant Garrett Anderson.
Hi,
it's not playing. Come on.
Sergeant
There we go.
I lost my arm in Iraq in 2005 from an improvised explosive device. I've used a lot of prosthetics in my 18 years of being an amputee. They're too heavy, too slow, not functional, and not durable. So this ionic hand has really changed my life and given me a new way to interact with society.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Tell us about you and how you came up with this.
Absolutely. So after I had met that 7-year-old girl in Pakistan, I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in biology from Loyola University Chicago, a master's degree in computer science. From there, I got another master's in electrical and computer engineering, PhD in neuroscience, and then I left medical school because this was a bit more fun. When I was a graduate student, we started 3D printing these hands.
What happens next? You raise a lot of money.
Am I the only one picking up the Mark Rober vibes? I don't know. I just his like mannerisms and excitement for all of these sciences and skills that he's picked up, and just the way he's just excited about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, how much have you raised?
So we've raised $3.6 million so far.
Okay.
And we're actually in the middle of a Start Engine crowdfunding campaign where we raised $2.2 million.
What money have you raised in total, and at what valuation?
We raised $1.4 million at the $12 million valuation, and then we raised $2.2 million so far on Start Engine at the $50 million valuation.
Over what period of time?
Just almost a year now.
Now, I'm really curious if the Start Engine, that is Kevin O'Leary's platform. So or at least he's involved in it. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know he's well distributed on that site. I first heard about it probably about a year and a half or 2 years ago. I want to say it was the Chimera board, one of the owners or high top people at Chimera board had reached out, and we were talking about, and they turned me on to that platform. So it's interesting if he'll have to recuse himself from it, or if it's not going to make a difference at all.
You've only been able to raise 2.2.
Well, we also get money from grants as well.
How much?
We've raised $2.4 million in grant funding, and then we should be getting another $2.7 million next year from the DoD.
That just doesn't make any sense to me that you would spend all that time on Start Engine just to raise 2.2 million when, given the impact of what you're saying is accurate, there's 1,000 people who would write that check.
There were several reasons why we decided to go the equity crowdfunding route. So one of them is half of our sales actually come from social media. So we have videos
From social media.
From social media.
This is sales? You're actually selling?
We are actually selling this. And so this is an FDA registered medical device. We got it covered by Medicare in the US.
Oh, wow.
To put that in
Okay.
perspective, before this hand came along, only 10% of patients in the US could afford it.
How much does it cost, doctor?
This costs $15,500.
What does it cost you to make it?
It costs us $1,800 to make it.
How many patients do you now have?
We have over 100 patients, but our
terrible.
biggest problem is that we've got more demand than we can produce, and so we want to start ramping up our production so we can get these.
How many
hands out
are you
there.
producing a year?
So right now we're actually about capacity of like 100 a year.
Why is your capacity just 100?
By next year, we're looking at potentially doing at least 500 hands per year and then 1,000 and more.
Why aren't the doctors who specialize in people in these circumstances, the VA, why aren't they just all over you just saying, we'll take all you can make?
Yeah, they have been taking all that we can make, and so that's why we're trying to build our production capacity. So
How much are you going to have to invest to increase the manufacturing capacity to get to 1,000 units a year?
to get to 1,000 units a year, up to $5 million in this round.
Doctor, did you ever pitch equity guys that only specialize in healthcare?
What we've seen in that space is that it's either one or the other. They're like either go into robotics purely or either go into the healthcare field.
But when you pitch the equity guys who are into robotics, what was the feedback? Why didn't they invest?
So some of them didn't care for the mission for humans, right? They didn't care that.
I just cannot see that at all. As somebody who's in the healthcare space, I mean, look, if you would come to me and said, I just need $5 million, we can dominate this industry, and I'm saying, okay, let's just negotiate, because $5 million is a lot of money, but
Sure.
to try to change people's lives
in
like
the
that,
scope of
in
things,
the big
it's
scope of
not.
things, it's not. This just does not add up to me. So for those reasons, I'm out.
Understood.
Yeah, Doctor.
Wow, that was tough to watch, right? Yeah, Mark could easily write that check. He's the only one that could easily there today that could write that check and not really have to sweat it at all or be really even that concerned about a return. I'm kind of curious as to what clearly Dr. Odile here has run into something that, it's kind of weird, right? Like you would think it's like, wow, this is like a slam dunk. It's a $15,000 device. If we can get, you get it up to scale, maybe you get it down to about half that price, $7,500, and you have an arm again. It doesn't sound like it should be. It should be a slam dunk. If that's what it's going to take to get to ramp up the manufacturing, right, and get it to scale. Now, again, there is other players in this space, so I would love to hear from them as well as you, Dr. Odile, down in the comments about what he's saying in this video and what experiences you guys are having and ladies are having in this field, like, because obviously this type of amputee replacement appendage is been around for a long time, right? Peg legs have been a thing. At least the cartoons would have me believe so. For going back to the pirate days, right? And probably even before that. But to have this type of technology, and I think it was important that the sergeant mentioned that, like, hey, this is light, it's not hot. It checks all the boxes that past ones that I'm aware of were not checking, which is great. That's awesome to hear. But I don't know if Mark is sensing that there's something wrong with the situation.
When I was on Dancing with the Stars, a good friend of mine to this day, Noah Galloway, great veteran, he lost his arm and his leg, and I know the pain of this. It's not just as simple as simply attaching it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of infections, a lot of issues with it. How do I attach this to the limb?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the hand right over here. And so
so I need the doctor.
Exactly. The clinician, the prosthetist makes the socket, and then they attach our hand to it with all of our electronics.
So how would they?
just
So that's
custom
that
fit it.
arm part.
So you're making just the hand.
We make just the hand. Exactly.
I'm very bullish on this space. I think it's going to change people's lives. But that knowledge makes me skeptical that with a few $1 million, you are what you are. Perhaps it's my own skepticism. I wish you all the best and incredible mission, but I'm out.
Thank you, Robert.
Doctor, I just want to clean up your presentation a bit with some numbers. First of all, lifetime sales.
Yeah, so lifetime sales is about $2 million.
Okay, and what were the sales last year?
So it was just over $1 million.
And you made money on that?
Yes.
How much?
100,000.
Okay, this year, what do you think you'll do in sales?
So we'll probably be around 2 at least.
My issue with this deal is I don't get out of bed for 2% of anything. Because what I'm worried about is the more successful you are, the more you have to raise, the more I get diluted. I know what the answer is going to be. I want 10% for $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's going too high.
I mean, how, like,
Yeah, of course it is. But of course, Mr. Wonderful wants 10% because I can't get out of bed. I get 2% is not enough. But $1 million is still a lot of money, regardless if you're a 400 millionaire pretending to be a billionaire or an actual billionaire. It's a lot, right? And 10% is not going to be great. It's not great for all the money that he's raised, and all that. And look, I mean, maybe now I think it's interesting that it took this long for the hand to be the thing and not the entire piece. I don't want to say the wrong words. I feel like I'm not doing it justice, so I apologize if I'm doing it wrong. But yeah, I could definitely see the skepticism come once you're like, well, what we're actually talking about is the hand. Now, I don't know if they're also making the forearm as well. But it sounded like to me, if I'm understanding it right, again, watching this live and getting my raw reaction without going and doing a bunch of research, it sounds like it is absolutely just the hand. I could definitely see where, your $15,000 for the hand, the rest of it is going to cost how much, and then, Medicare might pay for part of the hand. or insurance in general might pay for part of the hand, but like that still sounds like a pretty big hurdle to have to overcome for anybody who's trying to make to go with that option.
I got to wet my beak here.
Are there other offers here too, or?
Damon and I love it. We believe in it. We believe in you. So we'd like to give you an offer.
Commercial break
We'd
offer.
like to give you an offer. We'd like to do $1 million for 6%, but you get both sharks.
of us,
Got
Both
it.
of
But
us.
we don't want to be diluted. That could be problematic.
So what do you think of that? Or do you have a counter?
So we want to protect our valuation, right? Because we want to protect our investors.
2.5%, 5.
1 million at 2% shares, but then we can throw in advisory shares, and so let's say an additional 1% for each of you. Would that work?
So 4%.
4%, yes.
No. And we can get into the details on how we structure it, but the one important detail is we don't want to be
To
diluted.
be clear, you're asking for preference shares. And for
Correct.
viewers at home, the problem with preference shares is that as more money is raised, your percent's protected in perpetuity, which means
So-
you are never going to get diluted while everyone else is. You sit on the
But
top
we
of the
bring an
stack.
incredible amount of
But
value.
you understand the problem for your shareholders.
I understand,
You're going to have to
yeah.
disclose that to them.
We'd be willing to do the 2% with the 2% advisory, but non-diluted. Which really isn't bad, considering what you get.
That's true. We're going to be turning this into a $1 billion company,
That's why
right?
we're-
And we'll
giving
be
you that offer.
helping you do that a lot faster.
Well, it is the Shark Tank. You knew you were going to run into this. You are in a difficult
Yeah.
situation, Doctor, with this idea of putting preference above others. My offer is $1 million for 10%, but they're just standard common shares, and I expect to have the option to invest in the future more if I wish, but I will be diluted.
All right, anyway, you have two offers on the table.
I have to agree.
That is really tough. I don't. Again, I think it would be really nice if Mark saw the vision and wanted to get jump on board here. Damon and Lori working out that deal. It's not bad, but one of the things that happens, and I've heard this quite a few times. Once you have two sharks on board. Structuring the deal after the fact, after the TV, after the cameras are off, it can get really tough. And with that said, it's when you're trying to slice and dice a deal where you're like, I'm not going to be diluted. I'm sitting on top. I'm keeping my 2% no matter what. No matter if we split the stock, and all of a sudden everybody gets more shares. I'm keeping my 2% at all times until further notice, until I sell it. Now, hey, you're for $1 million, you're getting two sharks to come work with you. There's a lot to be said for that. Now, neither of them are in the healthcare space, I don't think. Kevin, I want to say kinda is. I want to say he at least has one or two deals that I don't even know if they actually went through that I can think of, but again, Mark would have been the one that Mark would have been the one to try to get. I think if I was going to try to make a deal work, Damon and Lori is probably good if I don't want to walk away from it, and if I want to be able to get a deal on TV, and then who knows what happens on the back end after the fact.
Agree with Kevin on this one, where I can't do the non-dilutive shares.
No way you
So
could do
what
that.
if we were at the 6%?
Yeah, and that's just too much. That's just too much equity. That
Well, then what are we talking about here, Doc?
the offer that I had given, the $1 million for 2%, and then an extra 2% in advisory shares. That is dilutive.
So basically, Dr. Dill, your counter is $1 million for 4%. What do you guys want to do?
Why don't we split the baby? Go to 5. Total.
Go to 5 and you've got a deal.
I would do that deal at
Yeah.
5
No,
also.
no,
Oh, he just got it.
no.
He just cut it.
We'll do
Get
together.
two sharks.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
Two
look,
is-
at 5% makes sense, right? 2.5% each. You're giving up an extra 0.5%. Now you're not getting all the money. Kind of stinks on the shareholders, but you're getting the power of the sharks. So it's worth something.
Better than that one.
No, I am the A shark for this deal.
Would you want to go in with Damon and Lauren?
Sure, I would. Of course.
But here is my proposal. If Kevin wants to come in with Lori and I, we would all get 2.5 shares, 7.5, right? It's 2.5, 2.5, 2.5.
You know that would blow you up huge
Yeah,
on Star
deals.
Engine.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, but you know what else is a big deal? Knowing that $5 million is what's the real game changer here, and having three sharks trying to split $1 million. Just get the money, man. Just get the money. Increase the dollar value.
But then I'm giving away more equity for the same amount of
And
money.
you gave 3 sharks.
I personally think on this deal, the more sharks, the better in terms of getting the story out. So 7.5, according to Damon, 3 sharks. They'll have to take a few hundred basis points out of your own stash to do it.
And these are common shares.
Sure.
I mean, I would do it for 6 because I think there's symmetry to that. If he said 6, would you do the deal?
I'll agree with whatever you want.
I would do it.
all right.
I would do it.
for 6%.
6%,
You better take it because you can see they can't agree on anything. Dr. Dill, what will you do?
I think we've got a deal.
Wow.
I'm
Well-
confused. Do you give us the money?
You'll be making money, right?
You're not shaking me in the hand with that.
There you go.
Absolutely fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks for your service, sir.
Yeah. Let's do it. Boom.
This is great.
Making this deal with the Sharks is going to be huge in terms of getting our production capacity up there and really helping all the people around the world that could use this hand. And that's what I'm most excited about.
Well, that is absolutely a great, thought and option, and hopefully that ends up being the case. It's the world's first touch sensing bionic hand. Watch this on Shark Tank. Love seeing Shark Tank right at the top. That's a pretty powerful image there, having the raspberry being able to be held by the bionic hand, so it's not too, so it is sensitive enough to not like just crush it. Of course, if you had a high-speed camera, like you're gonna do it, like get that second right before it just totally crushes it. Lightweight, so weighs in 490 grams, about 20% less than the average human hand, which is, I guess, a pretty big deal when it's kind of, I guess, in theory, dead weight on your arm, because it's not like the muscles inside of your hand are helping lift and move and stuff like that. Up to 200 millisecond closing speed. The ability hand is faster than any bionic hand on the market. With sensors in the fingertips, you can feel what you're doing with the ability hand and use it even when with the most delicate objects. It's the first bionic hand with multi-touch feedback on the market. Very cool. 150% faster than any bionic hand on the market, and you could even go golfing with it, which is pretty awesome, though I tend to think that you probably could with other hands, depending on which arm you had it on. So let's see, do they looks like they don't necessarily get yours now. Okay, so you can put in for it. So allowing the billing codes, ability hand. It's really cool. So over on Instagram, I got 3,300 followers. Over at NASA, this was 37 weeks ago. That's pretty cool. What else we got here? Breaking apart. It hits him in the throat or in the chin. Oh man, 59 weeks ago. So here's a picture of Mark checking it out up front. I guess there was a whole lot more. I imagine he was probably up there on the up on the floor for a while with probably all the different questions that they had for him. I would tend to think. So let's see. Over at Facebook, we got 2,700 likes, which is pretty cool. 36 likes on the Shark Tank post, 119 on this Shark Tank post. Can't make it to the San Diego watch party. They did a Zoom call. That's pretty cool for everybody to be able to join. More Shark Tank posts. Doing pretty well with on the Facebook posts in general with the feedback here. Where we at? There we go. 82 or 520 followers over on Twitter or X. I guess it's X, but it's still twitter.com. So whatever. LinkedIn, 5,000 followers over on LinkedIn. And over on YouTube, they got 1,022 subscribers. That's pretty great to see, with showing off the abilities of the hand. And let's see, Shark Tank pre-party live stream. So they did a live stream a little bit ago, which is pretty cool to see. Oh, here you go. So it's a almost 15-minute pre-party live stream. Very cool. Well, Dr. Adil, I would love to have you come on the show for an interview and talk about your Shark Tank experience, talk about the business and all that. Just drop a comment down below. Latest one from Sam. It says, Super Joe, Happy New Year. It's a little bit of an older post, older comment, but it is a Happy New Year. 2024 has been, it's off. It's been off with a bang, almost 2 months into it. And I hope you and I hope everything's going well for you, Sam. It's been great to have you in the super community all these years, and the continued support is greatly appreciated. So, yeah, I hope your year is going as well as mine is for the most part. Anyway, I'll see you in one of these two videos over here. Take care. Now, go be super.